Hey guys, welcome back to the Golf Podcast. This is episode number 417. We just got back from Innisbrook. It was an incredible trip. We're gonna dive into that. We're gonna talk about what we liked, what we didn't like, where we struggled, where we had fun. We've got a lot to talk about. But first, we have to dive into what everyone is talking about right now, and that's Phil Mickelson. Did he deserve to be canceled? I mean, to take you an idea of where we're at right now, Phil is effectively sponsorless. His four major
canceled.
That's the question.
Yeah.
His four major sponsors are not with him, at least at the moment. Some have paused. Some have just, at least for now, cut ties. Don't forget, Phil did offer that in his somewhat of an apology letter that he issued. He said, he doesn't want to hurt his sponsors, and he had offered ahead of time that they could either pause or part ways if they felt like it was going to hurt their business anyway. But I'll tell you, I'll start off by saying, and we'll give our opinion on it, but I think it is sad to see somebody who is and has always been such a loved personality in golf to see this kind of fall from grace so dramatically at this point in his career. This is a point in his career where he could have really just kind of wound down a little bit. He had his big win at the Ocean Course at the PGA, winning a major, the oldest player to win a major. And he was riding high. He's been loved on social media, but he's also been fighting this fight for a while.
Right.
This is not new, this kind of grief that he's had with the PGA Tour. And I think maybe he pressed too hard.
Maybe he did. And I'm curious to see if it does translate to the fans. I don't think it will. I see a lot of comments on some posts like, Phil, still love you, you're the man. I think that love is still there for Phil from the fan side. I could see maybe a lot of his peers being upset with him, but we'll see. He went into some social media hiding. I don't think he's going to play in an event in a while.
Yeah, and we'll speculate on when we think he will return and where the safest place is going to be for that. But you're right. There was a lot of tour players who spoke out against it. But let's first kind of rewind. Let's first talk about where this kind of the roots of where this began. Then we'll talk about what was said, and then ultimately the fallout and where we are now. And one thing is, Phil, dating a ways back, has aired his grievances with the PGA Tour in a lot of ways, calling them greedy. Unfortunately, where this is kind of spinning in a tough direction for Phil is a guy who's made upwards of $100 million over 30 years on the tour. You make that much money from an entity, it's kind of hard to call them greedy because he's made quite the living off the PGA. And I think that's where a lot of players came to the defense of the tour, as being like, is this ultimately a bite the hand that feeds situation?
It's interesting. And Zach, you and I, we were looking at what's like, hey, let's look at Phil's money situation, like the speculations about him going broke, things like that. And upon that search, it said he's made over $350 million in his career.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So he's made quite a bit of money, but he also, in some ways, I understand the point he's coming from, in that the PGA Tour can be a little bit too, in some ways, a lot of them feel a little bit too tight and restrictive over what they own from the players.
Right.
So one example that he gave, just one example, was the match that he had with Tiger Woods. Obviously, those are ultimately very lucrative for Phil as well.
Sure.
However, did you know that Phil had to pay the PGA Tour $1 million each time for licensing rights for his own content that he was creating? And that's where Phil was upset. In addition to that, because the PGA Tour owns the rights, the broadcast rights to everything that happens at these events, they can then take that and do what they will with it. So, for example, Phil is mentioning how the tour will take a clip of his, something that he did in one of the events, and they will license it out to businesses to use for a lot of money. Yep. And Phil never sees a dime of that. So this had been building up over years and years of Phil was upset by it. He wanted some sort of way to leverage it. Now, don't forget, in the PGA Tour, it's not like they've got big unions or stuff like that. And you see in other sports where they can kind of bargain together. Each player has their own agents and things like that, but there's not a lot that they can do, leveraging the PGA Tour, and here's where he felt like he needed leverage. So that brings us to the comments that were made, right? So Phil, and they're long quotes that are out there. You can take a look, but one of the things that he said was, he started by acknowledging, and this goes down to the new Saudi, the Super League, or whatever you want to call it. It's backed by Saudi money. And he acknowledged how bad that can be because of the human rights violations, from the Saudis.
Right.
And, he even went so far as, he called them bad. These are some bad MFers.
Mm-hmm.
And where Phil then, I think, kind of crossed that line is where he said, however, if we can use it to our advantage as a bargaining chip effectively and as leverage against the tour, then I'm going to. So I think that that's what ultimately upset a lot of people. And that's what upset a lot of these sponsors.
I get it now.
Is that they're going to say, listen, if you acknowledge that there's these massive human rights violations, all the different things, he talked about, the killing of journalists, you talk about like some of the oppression of gays and women and stuff like that. So it's like, all right, if you're acknowledging that, Phil, then just leave it there. Don't do business with them. And Phil, I think it wasn't very eloquent what he was trying to say. I don't think it was well thought out because he was just kept coming back to saying like, well, those are all bad things, but if I can use it as leverage to push the tour in the direction that I think it needs to be pushed, then I'm going to do it.
Yeah, and that's where it got confusing for me because isn't Phil have a financial interest in this league?
I've also heard that as well, that he's got some sort of financial. Now, don't forget, this is the it's headed up by Greg Norman, and there are some other financial backers, but the biggest financial backer,
right,
comes from Saudi Arabia, and so there's a lot of. But I think that's where Phil ultimately he got hung up on 2 points. The one of just saying I acknowledge how bad they are, but yet I'm willing to do business with them if it gets my agenda across. Yeah. That's one. And secondly, by in general going after the PGA Tour and attacking them as greedy, it wasn't a good look for Phil from a guy who's made so much money from the PGA Tour.
For sure. So that's what caused him to lose the sponsorships.
That's a big part of, I think that's a big part of it.
And they're paused. They're not exactly gone. They haven't parted ways with Phil Mickelson.
For all that we know.
For all that we know.
Right. And that's the thing. Where a lot of this has to be speculation. Now, the story was originally broke, by Alan Shipnuck, who's a well-respected journalist, and he's been working on this, biography of Phil. And then there was some back and forth of like what was off the record, what was on the record. And that's where some people were upset with Phil's apology because it didn't seem as much like, he issued this long 500-word statement. And a lot of people said, it's not so much an apology as just trying to basically defend himself.
Right.
But Phil, that's where, as other players started to come out, you had guys like Brooks Koepka, Rory McIlroy, had some very strong words for Phil, just basically saying, I wouldn't be calling the tour greedy. But a lot of the other players who've ultimately said that they're not going to be participating in the Saudi League all kind of cited the reason that they're not going to do it is they want to stay where the competition is in the PGA Tour. They want to play wherever the best players are.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
None of them quite addressed or even acknowledged what's going on with the human rights violations in Saudi Arabia. None of them said, like, that's not why I'm playing. They all just kind of sidestepped it.
Right.
I think where Phil got into a lot of trouble is that he acknowledged it, but then effectively was like, I'm still willing to do business.
Right. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
And you get that even in just the corporate world where a lot of companies will do business in whether it's Saudi Arabia or other areas where there's these human rights issues, but they don't actively say, I know that there's these issues, yet I choose to do business anyway.
Right.
A lot of them, it's like kind of a head in the sand that never acknowledge it, don't like kind of say it. So, because then in a way, it's almost like a backhanded way of saying you're okay with it. And I think that's ultimately why the big sponsors are saying, I'm sorry, Phil, I can't ride this train with you.
Yeah. It's interesting. And do we know anything about this Super League? Right. I mean, we were running and gunning in Innisbrook while this news came out, so
not a whole lot when it comes to the Super League.
But it had a very USA dominant schedule.
For sure. I think 10 of the 14 events will be held in North America, whether the US or Mexico, Canada.
And that's the other thing I heard from a lot of these players. It's like they don't know if they can. That's another thing they were saying, other than addressing the human rights stuff. They were saying, like, I don't know if I could put my support behind something that's so new. The league is too new.
And also Saudi leagues in the past, I believe, have been under fire for, like, they've been around for a certain amount of time and then the funding just got cut, no questions asked, and it's just done. And
and
that could easily happen.
Yes, and it's a delicate line because don't forget, there's also some of these Saudi events every year that you see these tour players will get paid just to appear and play in.
And they're allowed to go do that.
And they've been allowed because don't forget, this is part of like the DP World Tour, and it has some like Asian tour backing, so that which legitimizes it in a lot of ways. But I think again, what it comes down to is no other player has gone so far as to acknowledge the human rights violations and say, I'm going to participate anyway, full well knowing that. Yeah. Now, Phil is kind of talking out both sides of his mouth. He's like, I acknowledge that, and in a way, they're bad, and I hope that they fail. However, if I can use them as leverage, I am going to do that. You know,
I got it.
Instead of kind of stopping short and be like, listen, where Phil could have possibly gone a better direction would have been to say, listen, I've got my grievances with the PGA Tour. I would love nothing more than to use this tour as leverage to try to push my agenda. However, they're bad MFers, as he said, and I just have to keep my healthy distance from them. I think he would have been well off that way, but he might not have gotten across what he wanted to do.
Yeah, I think Phil could have easily gone about this whole thing a little bit differently. I think the one thing that really started catching people's attention to Phil and the Saudi Tour was that he paid a lot of the legal fees to get the Super League off the ground.
Like your financial interest.
Yeah. So he paid millions and millions of dollars to make sure that they had all the bylaws and rule sets and made sure.
If he's just doing all this to make a point.
Well, that's what I
crazy.
wonder.
Yeah.
Did he do that? Is it some sort of underlying like financial hedge where he wants to make money, or did he say, this is my chance to finally put the pressure I want on the PGA Tour. Let me do whatever I can to help this league succeed so that we can put the pressure back. Because what he ultimately believes, and Phil has thrown out a lot of numbers that are very hard to verify, billions of dollars worth of money that he feels like should have gone back to the players and is kept by the PGA Tour. And he feels that things like these player incentive programs and the 20 million they're throwing here and the 10 million, he felt like those were just little kind of, distractions and, to what was really going on. I think
there was actually a report that Phil didn't even win the PIP.
I had heard that. I heard that even Tiger may have won it. I
think Phil would be vocal about that if he didn't win it. I think he would have heard it on Twitter. Like, guys, I really didn't win this thing. I think he would have came out with it.
Yeah, but now I think ultimately we're not going to hear a whole lot from Phil. So we're
that's my question to you. When we do see Phil again, now he's sponsorless. Is he showing up with a bag of Callaway sticks and a KPMG hat? He did say he wants to remain loyal to his sponsors, even though they're not partnered with him.
Well, I definitely don't think he would be blatantly wearing the sponsor, because if they don't want that tie, it would harm them more.
I mean, he's got to wear like a
pair
of overalls.
He could just wear a black hat.
The KPMG hat that like has the 4 boxes, but it says Phil instead of KPMG.
That would be in like a wild statement.
That would be something.
That's a lawsuit for Phil, probably.
But I mean, so where we go, right? So like, is he coming back? What's he going to do? Phil's already said he's going to take a little bit of a break. He says he's felt a lot of the pressure. He's apologized. He says he never meant to hurt anyone, never meant to hurt the game. All those types of things. Like I said, he's been a lovable guy on tour for a long time. I think you're going to separate this as far as fans go into a couple of buckets. You're going to have people who think that canceling was too far. There are going to be people who say like, I don't agree with what he said, but it was too far for everyone to pile on. And they're going to say, I'm still with Phil.
Haley Ostrom said that.
Did she? Yep. There's also going to be a group of people, honestly, who really don't know what happened as intimately as we do. Don't forget, we follow the PGA Tour week in and week out. You've got a lot of fans who will just, they're kind of like fringe golf, fans who will just watch the majors and things. And they won't really know. They'll ask their buddy, be like, what happened with Phil? Why is Phil not, do you know what I mean? Yeah. So there's a big demographic of that. And then there's going to be people who just like, hey, it's unforgivable and whatever. So the question is like, where would he return? And I got to look to Augusta.
I don't know. I think he needs time.
Well, Augusta's 2 months out, right? And I think one thing that might work in Phil's favor there is that fans would not have really an opportunity to really come at him there. Augusta won't allow it.
Right.
If you're booing and creating a scene, you're gone. You're out. So if there's any event that's going to offer him a little protection from that, it's going to be the Masters.
Okay.
Whereas other events, he can really stand to be potentially heckled. I just don't know if it's going to be. I don't know if this is. I just don't know if it's going to trickle down to the fans creating actual rage.
Wouldn't he have to still do media at the Masters?
He would still do media. He would get the questions.
Torched.
Not only that, he's got to go to the Champions Dinner. I mean,
Torched.
Right. A lot of people speculated that same thing. I heard some takes on that where they're like, he might not want to right now sit there across with the other champions and have
sit
to
across from Jack right now
and get the heat. Right.
Gary Player. And
But I don't
Woods,
think that the pure rage is, of people being truly upset is going to trickle down as much to the players. I think it's more so what we're seeing is brands who nowadays brands have a lot at stake. They've got to be super, super conservative, right? Because they ultimately don't want to some sort of boycott or something like that. And I think brands are like, listen, you in any way acknowledging what you acknowledged with the human rights violations, but then continuing to want to deal with them is just something that we have to distance ourselves from.
yeah.
But I don't know if that's something that's enough that the fans are going to be in outrage and they're going to just turn on Phil in mass.
We'll see. I mean, I don't think it's going to trickle down to the fans, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Time will tell.
I'm really interested to see where this Saudi tour goes.
Yeah, me
And
too, because this has
especially-
been a tough turn for them.
I think that they're going to just lit a fire. Like Norman's on a mission right now. You know what I mean? Like
But
his
who are they
letter.
going to
Yeah.
get at this point?
I mean, we'll find out in 2 weeks.
They'll get
That's
some
the
people.
most interesting thing
They'll
to
get
me is that the weekend of the Players, which is one of the biggest weekends in the PGA Tour, the Saudi Tour is going to drop a bomb saying that 20 athletes switched.
I think
And
it
look-
might have been 20. Maybe it's not that many anymore.
Yeah, how many now are staying
But how many
with this bad
And
PR?
to fill people in who are not sure what we're talking about, just before all this big Phil news hit, they said, for this new league had gotten to 20 players.
Yeah, this was right when all the Bryson going to the Super League
Right.
news was dropping.
Yep.
And they said, we've got 20 players. And effectively, they said they were going to announce who they were the week of the Players. Of course, you come out the PGA Tour's biggest event, well, one of the biggest events. At least, it's tough. But I don't know, because now I've got to thinking, now we're seeing actual statements from Bryson saying, no, I'm not doing it. I think now these guys are seeing like,
That could
whoa,
just be to save face.
it could be, but there's got to be guys who are very close, and then they see all of a sudden this heat with Phil, and they're like, I don't want that. I was thinking about it, but now I'm out.
If Phil just started his own YouTube channel, he'd have a gazillion subs. He'd be hysterical, and he'd make his own money, and he probably wouldn't have to give the tour a penny. Isn't that what Bryson does?
That's what Phil. Unfortunately, I think that's the direction I would have loved to see Phil. Phil in that lane where Phil is able to be funny.
Would you watch a course
charismatic.
log from Phil?
Yeah, I can
like
watch
Goat Hill
everything.
Park with
But that's
Phil.
the thing. I said we've said it before on this podcast. He's been a gift to social media. He's funny. He's got that all that charisma that we like to see. It's just that part of Phil that's so willing to just say whatever's on his mind was what bit him in the end here, because I don't think he fully thought through what he was saying. I think he was trying to make the point of saying the PGA Tour needs to change. I've had no success changing the PGA Tour. This is finally my chance. I just hate that this happens to be the leverage I have, but it's the leverage I have, and I'm going to run with it.
Right?
That's what he said. That's what he was thinking was. But ultimately, people were like, Phil, stop and think. You're talking about the leverage that you have being someone that you acknowledge being bad MFers who have human rights violations. That's maybe a leverage that you steer clear of.
Yeah, there you go.
And that's what really bit him. But the other thing too is, I'll leave it with this. There's also more speculation coming, because Alan Shipnuck, who's the one who's putting this biography together, has basically said and indicated that there's a lot more. There's more that was said. And that's what you kind of wonder. Is Phil now distancing? Are sponsors and them aware of something else that's going to hit that hasn't hit yet? I don't know. Alan did also come out
Alan's
just
going to
this
make out the
week.
best in this whole situation. So
Well-
everyone's going to want to read this book.
Yeah,
Everyone's going to want to read the book.
Yeah.
the whole book thing just
Yeah.
blows my mind, because if I was Phil and this dude that I agreed or not, I don't know, to write my biography is basically just destroyed my life.
Yes and no. I think
You'd
Phil did
be-
a lot to himself.
No, I totally understand that. But like, if Shipnuck never released any of
the off the record statements,
but
Phil would be fine now, and there would be no, you know what I'm saying? Nobody would even be talking about this.
But the thing is, where they're going to debate is whether it was off the record or not. You know, in his research and in his diligence, Alan supposedly called up Phil, had some questions about it, and he just caught Phil at a moment when Phil was heated, and Phil just went.
He went.
Alan says that he never said, "Hey, this is off the record." He just went. But I don't know. Jeez. Even Alan, though, has come out in this past week saying that he was surprised that Phil's. Well, he said he was surprised that Phil's sponsors ditched him over this. But again, living in a world right now where every company is so worried about their public image, I think it's just that it only takes a little bit where they're just like, no, I got to distance myself. None of them are coming out and saying like Phil's a terrible person. They're just saying like, it was unacceptable what he said, and we just got to distance ourselves.
That's it for now.
So that's where it leaves us. But I'd love to hear from you guys. Drop them in the comments, or in our Facebook group or the Golficity Clubhouse. All the places that we've got our conversations going on, and let us know: does this, what Phil did ultimately, and what Phil said, and how Phil has responded, and how Phil has apologized? Where does this leave you with Phil? Is it unforgivable? Were you a fan, and will you continue to be a fan? Or is it something you're saying that, I didn't know this part of Phil, and I need to, I'm going to move on to other players to root for. I'd love to hear what people have to think.
I'm curious myself. So let's see what happens. I'm curious to see how this whole thing unfolds, but
there's still more to this story.
There definitely is.
Yeah.
But
I would like to know what you guys think. Are you guys gonna remain Phil fans? Are you giving him an opportunity to grow from this, or what's your stance?
Well, listen, 100%. I would love nothing more than Phil to come out with take some time, take some space, and then come back with a very well thought out, heartfelt,
and not in a letter.
I want to see him say specifically. He had said before, I'm not happy with what I said or how I said it. Just say why. If you truly, Phil, if you truly believe that the Saudis are bad MFers and all these things, then come out strongly against it and just say, I'm not going to deal with them. This is my morals are more important than money, and I'm not going to deal with them. If he comes back to that point, people can
they'll fall back in love. Friends,
I'm all for
peers.
Forgiveness. If you're somebody who can acknowledge that you said something wrong, or it wasn't what you meant, or whatever it may be, and it truly you feel like it's a true apology, then I don't think there's ever somebody who's they've done something so egregious you can say I can never root for this guy again.
Yeah,
I'd rather see something like that. Take the time, make it well thought out, be humble, come back, and let's see where it goes from there.
I agree, man. I agree. Let's see if it happens. All right, I want to talk about some more tour stuff. We're going to talk about Innisbrook because we're going to dissect the hardest round of golf we've ever played.
Yeah,
the hardest course I think we've ever played. We'll get to that in a second. But speaking of that, a course that reminded me of that course, we're going to talk about the island course, was the Honda PGA National. What a beast! What a beast! I don't know if you saw some of the stats this past weekend, like some of the triple bogeys, double bogeys, insane. Look at our scorecards out there.
Yeah,
but we had Danny Berger with a 5-stroke lead heading into 54. And what was so interesting about this is a year ago, I believe at Pebble Beach, he was quoted saying that having a lead in a golf tournament is like having a heart attack on every hole. So here's a guy that struggles with the pressure of it. He was lights out. Greenside bunker, hole outs, nonstop, dropping holes. And then Sunday came, gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know what happened. Just gone, collapsed. But that's golf, I think. It just didn't have that Sunday fire in him.
Yeah, and I hope he can shake this, because I don't want him to start to develop that narrative that he can't close, and that kind of gets in their own heads.
He's a gamer.
But you're right. As far as PGA National, difficult.
When that wind is up.
How many times I glanced up at the screen, I kept saying, like, anybody who was next to me would listen, be like, look at this tee shot.
Yeah.
You're just like, where's the green? It's all water. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And then where they put those pins on Sunday, and you've got the bear trap, of course. But Berger,
Speaking of the bear trap,
front nine that got him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Speaking of the bear trap, I saw this and thought it was fairly funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was that front nine. Do you have that score of his front nine? There it is.
So there you go. Was it triple
bogey on the third hole. I mean, that's got to put you out of it quick. And then followed by par, bogey. Good, he got the birdie back, but he just couldn't hold on to it.
Yeah, so he did struggle, and And hey, that's golf. I
I
just hope he kind of gets that monkey off his back and gets that win, because I'm thinking of that. I mean, thinking back as far as like TPC River Highlands, where he lost to Spieth on that 18.
Exactly.
Right. He just like, there's a lot of instances where you're like, he had it to win and
he's been heartbroken a lot.
Yeah.
Especially he's not dating Tori Slater anymore, I don't think. Speculation. I think he's girlfriendless now. Come on, Danny. Big fan of Danny Berger. I think he's like that Ryder Cup guy, that President's Cup guy. He's a gamer. I love him in those competitions, Ryder Cup, President's Cup, stuff like that. So
yeah,
I don't think this is going to get him. I think he's got a win under his belt.
But nothing to take away, of course, from Straka.
First win.
I mean, first win.
There's a guy.
You play like that in the bear trap, you deserve to win.
Absolutely.
First Austrian to win on the PGA Tour.
How cool is that? Become like a hero. It's like Matsuyama with the Masters. Good for him, man. That's great.
So it was another exciting event. The Florida Swing continues to excite. We've got now the Arnold Palmer Invitational this week, and we've got the Players. The Arnold Palmer, I think the one thing that is unfortunate news this week is to see what would be the defending champ, and Bryson DeChambeau out. I think it was his hand that he was saying he's still nursing.
Hip and wrist
injury. So again, we talked about this. We won't overkill it. We talked about it here on the show before of just saying, like, is he putting too much strain on his body with what he's doing?
It might be, but he'll never admit it.
Yeah.
I'm also wondering, yesterday was the Seminole Member Pro.
I saw that
at Seminole Golf Club.
He was
down
supposed
in
to play
Florida.
it?
I think the video that he posted on Instagram was from the Seminole
He was
Clubhouse.
all dressed up for golf.
He was all dressed up for golf. I think it was in that clubhouse. I think he was just like, I think he took a couple swings that day and was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a shame because he brought a lot of excitement and a lot of attention to the tournament. It's always a good tournament no matter what. Bay Hill always, is always impressive to watch. At Bay Hill, I love 18. If you've played it, so we could mention that. But ultimately, if I still remember, what was it? The fifth hole that horseshoe,
it's the sixth hole,
the
horseshoe around the water, par 5,
and just seeing Bryson take that on and that. I mean, it was electric, and I think it generated a lot more attention in the event than you would get otherwise. I think Bryson does that in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
So it's sad to not see him in the event. I still think we're going to have a good event, though.
I think we will, and I can always say that I've birdied that hole, and I got to give credit to my caddy. It was all him, right here.
This guy.
Yep.
No.
No.
Those were incredible shots and an incredible putt.
That putt was amazing. A little swooper.
And talk about pressure to do it in front of Molinari.
Yeah, and he made his birdie right after mine look much easier.
Yeah, he made everything look easy that day. I remember it was struggling. We were struggling through that course.
We were.
And
that's when things started to click for me, actually. I remember I birdied that. We went onto that par 3, and I hit into the bunker, and then I got up and down like a foot tap in for par.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm starting to hum a little bit. And then the back nine came and forget it.
No matter what. I mean, it was, and what we're going to talk about in a minute, our trip to Innisbrook and about Copperhead and what it's just like experiencing a taste of what these tour guys do.
Yeah.
Man, it is incredible. It is incredible. I heard a stat the other day where talking about like trying to benchmark and compare, average golfers to what the PGA Tour players do. And there's one huge caveat to that, and that's the way that these courses are set up for tour events is orders of magnitude harder than the courses that we play.
Yeah.
Orders of magnitude. So sure, you can try to say, hey, what does a PGA Tour player get in greens and regulation versus your everyday scratch golfer? But the difference is week in and week out, the way that those events are set up and what those guys are playing.
Oh, yeah. Dude, tell me about it. I saw
next level.
One shot from Brooks Koepka to remind me about the Copperhead greens, which we'll talk about. He had a shot that he hit pin high on the thing and it rolled all the way off the back of the green. Like, we don't think about that on Sunday when we're playing with our buddies.
Yeah.
We're just trying to get on the green. We hope our ball stays there or spins a little bit. But, like, we're not thinking about, hey, the greens are running quick. This is PGA Tour caliber, wind, all that stuff. And, like, we hit a lot of those Copperhead greens. The balls would just go. We're like, geez, now I'm on the back. Now I'm off the back.
Now imagine, too,
guys.
they put those pins in the Sunday positions.
Yeah,
because we saw that at PGA National. It was like, what? Wow. Like, where they put some of these pins, there was almost no room. Like, talk about short-sighted.
Yeah, with wind,
it's not just at that level. It's not just being able to play the shot, but it's being able to understand the strategy. And that's where, like, the value comes in working with these caddies who are out there before the event, looking at pins, pacing things off, and just thinking, like, where you need to hit this ball to access some of those pins is just... incredible.
It is. I mean, I think they're in for a little bit of a treat this week. Don't get me wrong. Bay Hill's not an easy course, but I think it's a lot easier. And we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, there's even 18, it gets you. I mean, and guys who had to go for it over the water. I remember some of the best shots there. Rory, I'm thinking some of the guys.
Yeah.
It's always a fun event for fans to watch. There's no doubt about it.
It really is. By the way, I just wanted to mention this quick because we brushed on Ryder Cup. So Zach Johnson hired his Ryder Cup captain. Yeah. I wonder though, it was Phil in the slot for that, and they pivoted. We don't know.
I saw a bunch of stuff on Instagram, like in the Instagram comments, people were saying that, like, oh, I thought Phil was supposed to be the captain. I thought Phil was supposed to be the captain.
I don't know if he was slated for it or not, but
I think what people were saying on Instagram in the comments were that Phil was never supposed to be Ryder Cup captain in Rome, but they wanted him to come back to be Ryder Cup captain at the following Ryder Cup, which takes place in the United States at Bethpage.
Okay.
So it's, yeah.
Hey, I if this isn't smoothed out by then, if something, then I mean, we're talking about his career. It must have been destroyed if he can't come back.
Right, absolutely.
Like I said, I continue to hope for Phil that while I don't agree with his approach in any way, I hope for him and anyone can make a mistake. Anyone can basically make a misstep in their thought process. And I think if he plays it right and he apologizes the right way, I think we could see him back in those positions. But regardless, I think Zach is a great pick here. Zach Johnson.
Everyone loves him.
He's always there in those team events. You see him, the players all seem to have a lot of respect for him. He knows the game well. He's a major winner himself. I think it's a smart captain's pick. No doubt about it.
And we're in a President's Cup year now because of COVID. Everything was pushed. I wonder where that is this year, the President's Cup. Because we went to one. We went to the one in Liberty National.
Liberty National. What was that? How many years ago was that?
I don't even remember now. Everything getting pushed. So I think it was 2019 because 2020 was supposed to be Ryder Cup.
Yeah.
So it's happening in September.
Oh, it's down in. It's at. Don't tell me. I know which it is. Where Rory won his first event, Quail Hollow.
Wow, there we go. Rain Man.
Because we were thinking about going to it. That's why.
Yeah. That'll be. I mean, that's a great spot for it. That's a great spot. But yeah, so I mean, I think he's a good pick, and interested to see as that kind of unwinds. We've got still some time on that. So all good stuff. One other thing I want to update you guys on really quick. We're gonna dive into Innisbrook here in a minute. But speaking of tournaments, is our own tournament, our virtual tournament that we do every year, the Golficity Virtual Open. It's going to come up on us quicker than you think. We usually will run that. We're gonna solidify the dates. We're gonna lock it in. It's usually late July through August. Last year, I think we ran it just for the month of August, but it's a full month. It's free to enter, and we have a lot of fun with it. And we host it in the 18 Birdies app, which I've been messing around with a little bit more lately, and I really love some of the improvements that they've made to it. It's become a very a cool way to kind of like, connect with other golfers, other friends you play golf, and maybe either you're not getting a chance to play with them every weekend. You can still kind of follow. There's very similar to what we do with the Virtual Open live leaderboards. They've got this like live leaderboards at all times. Like if I go out there and I just start playing around, everybody who I'm friends with on the app can see my round in progress. In live progress. It's very cool. So definitely check it out. Go to golficity.com/18birdies to test out the app. If you're either new to the app or if it's been a while, there's been some real big changes. So it's time to give it a relook. And in general, it's free to set your account up. So get set up, and then that way you'll be ready once we do the Virtual Open. But they've got some really cool stuff in there. They even got like this AI coach. I used it a little bit last year on the range. You just kind of aim the camera at yourself, and it checks like
way to
different
get your
positions.
own gears system.
Yeah, it's very interesting how advanced that they've come. But let's do a quick word from our sponsors, and then we're going to dive right into just kind of really deconstructing our Innisbrook trip because it was really an incredible experience, and I think it's something that a lot of golfers are going to want to experience at some point if they haven't already. So let's do a word from our sponsors, and we'll dive into it. Hey guys, this episode of the podcast is sponsored by Titleist. We all have different ability levels and goals, but one thing we share is a desire to bring our best every single time we tee it up. And it all starts with choosing a golf ball you can trust. The Pro V1 is the best combination of speed, spin, and feel in the game. And the Pro V1X gives you a higher flight and a firmer feel, but both deliver that long distance, consistent flight, soft feel, and the all important drop and stop greenside control. So whether you're Justin Thomas, Jordan Spieth, or Nelly Korda competing at the game's highest levels, or simply striving to be the best you can be, tee up a Pro V1 or Pro V1X. Always bring your best. And I know it's something that we've always been able to rely on. I love the feel. I play the Pro V, you play the Pro V1X, and it's just, it is truly, like I said, it's that ability to rely on it and know, especially, we'll talk about Innisbrook in a second, around the greens, and just knowing that this is a golf ball that you can trust. If you can pull off the shot as a golfer, that ball is there for it.
100%.
You know, it's gonna. Your equipment is not going to fail you.
Right.
And we learned a lot about that even when we visited the Titleist plant where they make the ball, and you can understand the care and the quality control that goes into it, and that gives you a lot of confidence that the ball can do what you want it to do.
Oh yeah, let's just say I left a lot of those in Innisbrook. But yeah, we're gonna get to that.
If you're willing to go swimming, you can find yourself a couple good Pro Vs.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
All right.
Hey guys, I want you to bring some heat to your game this year with the new FootJoy fuel. I can't tell you, this guy right here, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we were at TSA.
Call me out for it. It's true.
TSA, the guy was like, dude, you got to take those shoes off. Frank was like, no, these are never coming off my feet. No, I'm kidding. He did not take them off. Super comfortable, right?
I brought multiple pairs of shoes, and then this is my first time wearing the fuel. I wore them for the first round, and I literally didn't take them off. I ended up, I wanted to test out the new Pro SL Carbons. Incredible with that BOA. Love them. I ended up, though, I only wore them for one round.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I just got to give something else a try, too. I didn't want to take the fuel off. I wore them for 4 out of 5 rounds.
There you go. I'm saying, are we wearing them now? I thought you were. But listen, these shoes are amazing. They're great looking, and they feature the latest and the lightest midsole foam called the Stratolite. I mean, that's probably why. I mean, super comfortable. They deliver that comfort while providing that traction and support through the golf swing, which we're always talking about how important that is. I mean, these shoes are great. They come in a bunch of vibrant different colors, the latest innovation and athletic look and feel. The fuel appeals to players at all levels of the game. So whatever your swing type is, whatever you're wearing, whether it's 9 holes, 36 holes, we played 36 a bunch, man.
We did.
You recovered yet?
Listen, people throw the word light around a lot.
Yeah.
Wear these shoes and you'll see.
You'll see
it's
exactly.
The next level.
Can't wait to get a pair.
They're like a
there
feather.
You go.
Yeah.
You're going to love them. So if you FootJoy Fuel, guys, go check them out. They're engineered to bring the heat to your game. Learn more at footjoy.com.
All right, let's jump back into it. All right, so we're going to talk Innisbrook. So first of all, the first thing we got to do is we got to thank the entire team at Innisbrook for having us, because right now, everybody wants to escape the cold. And it's just, they did an incredible job of making the courses and just the accommodations available to us being super busy, super packed.
Yeah, super
They're
packed.
also getting ready for a tour event, the Valspar, in a few weeks. And they did what they needed to do. They shifted some things around to let us get down there and play. And for that, eternally grateful.
Yeah. Huge thanks.
Just great people.
You know, Bobby, director of golf, Bobby Barnes, and Ramona, head of PR there. 2 great people. They really took care of us. Talk about red carpet. I mean, case in point was we met that couple at TPC Tampa Bay on the last day.
Yeah.
And they tried to get on Copperhead, but like we couldn't play there. It was closed. We're like, oh, we played there this morning.
They were like, how'd you play there this morning?
So again, super blessed.
Yeah.
And the videos will show it. I can't wait to
we
share
were
them.
supposed to have Bobby on the show to talk a little bit about it, but he, it just ended up, and it's not his fault whatsoever. It's just things
This
didn't
is
line
his
up
busy
while we were
season.
down there.
Yeah.
He was busy, and it was just some technical, issues with getting the podcast itself set up. We didn't get the chance to do it. At some point, I'd love to get Bobby on the show. We'll talk to him a little bit more at some point, but right now it's just a huge thanks to them. But
we did have, we tried because we love those on destination podcasts.
Right. We did try.
The one at Pinehurst, the one we went to the Sagamore. We love to do it because we love having the backdrop. We wanted to do it behind the 18th green.
Yep.
But there was no electrical power and stuff wasn't working. And again, like you said, Bobby was tired.
And then there was a gas leak.
There was a gas leak going on. There was all kinds of things.
Everything worked against us that day. But like I said, we'll still make it happen at some point. But first, Innisbrook, let's just talk about it. Tampa, Florida.
2.5 hour flight, simple.
Super easy
Yeah.
from here from New York.
Got out just in time with the squall.
Yes, we did. We got out right before, and we got back right in time
did.
because we got hit with another snowstorm
That's right.
the day after we
Lucked
got
out.
back. So we got super lucky, and we got the perfect
80 and
Florida
sunny
weather
every
every
day.
single day. But Innisbrook, I had known it and heard about it from the Copperhead course, and you get to see the snake pit and the snake pit statue, that we all see on the PGA Tour. What I didn't know was the caliber of the other courses that were there.
Right.
I'll be honest with you, until we were heading down there, I just didn't know enough about the North Course, the South Course, and the Island Course. And I was thoroughly impressed by every course. They were challenging. Even when we were getting close to playing it, the North and the South, a lot of people, think of them as warm-up courses for the Island and for the Copperhead. Man, those courses to me could stand alone, as incredible courses like must plays. They were loaded with challenge. They beat us up in a lot of ways.
Fairways like hallways, guys. Oh my God.
Well, let's start with the first one. So we get there, and the first course we played was the South Course. And surprisingly, but not surprisingly, we played our best golf there.
Yep. Yeah.
I shot an 83, you shot an 86. I think there's a couple reasons we play our best golf. First of all, for a little perspective, we haven't been on a golf course playing real golf since November. So 3 months. Our last real round, what I would consider before the weather
not frozen
turned,
golf, right?
was probably at Manhattan Woods when we played in right around Thanksgiving. Then after that, the weather came in. We did get on the golf course to play 9 in frozen conditions with frozen greens.
Right,
That's just kind of hit and giggle. As
Hit and
Tiger
giggle,
says,
baby.
right? That's not real golf. It's hard to have any type of feel for something like that. So you lose your feel. But I think the reason a lot of us play well that first round back is because you have very kind of low pressure, low expectations. You don't expect to play very well. And we had rust in certain areas.
And your body wasn't tired.
Right.
It was our
and
first
the body.
round.
And I think that's what we got to debate here is did we take on too much? Because towards the end, we were cooked.
And we had so much adrenaline going through us. That first tee box
It felt
on the
so
South
good.
Course.
So
and
good.
We're out in the sun. We got the
Sunshine.
cameras back out. We're doing what we love.
Yep.
But what I loved about that South Course, it was a great mix of very tight golf and very open golf. So one big thing that's a common thread throughout all these courses, all the courses there were designed by Larry Packard, who lived to, I think he was 100 or 101 when he passed away there at Innisbrook. Major influence over the resort.
Offers a mean steak in that steakhouse, though.
Yes, the Packard Steakhouse.
How good was that?
That was a way to. We got there, and the first thing we did go to the steakhouse,
Airport to the steakhouse.
get a steak. It was well worth
New York
it.
Strip.
But so you play the South Course, and the first 5 holes are very, very tight. So it starts to give you a little bit of an opening and a taste for
But
it.
I liked that because we thought differently. We went like 4-iron hybrid off the beginning, not our usual like driver out of the airport
Right.
after 3 months. Like we conservative play.
It really made you think more strategically about where you were going to play that driver because there were certain holes you just couldn't. There was one hole on the Island Course. The only way I can describe it would have been like teeing off down a hallway.
Yeah.
There was a fairway that was maybe 30 yards wide. On either side of that fairway, it was tree line.
Straight
It
trees.
looked like some of the video games that we've played. There was nothing. There was no room for error. You either in a fairway or you're in the trees. One or the other.
Yeah.
And I talked about this in the videos. As you'll see, we'll be rolling out. We did match play at each. Well, we did stroke play matches at each of these courses. And one thing I kept coming back to is just saying, if you didn't hit your tee shot, you had to add a stroke each time. I can't tell you how many holes where I would just push my tee shot just a little bit off the fairway.
And that was it.
And I had to pull out my 7-iron and punch it back.
Maybe punch back through those
Maybe,
Pinehurst-y like trees.
Depending on how deep you got.
All right. Almost pine needles.
Right. But you're right. I like that it kind of forced us to play smart off the tee in a lot of places. But then it started to open up.
Yeah. 6th hole, it just opened. We're
All
like,
of a sudden,
whoa.
you could just see again. There was no trees in sight. However, so they give you a little bit more confidence. Packard would be like, go ahead. I dare you to pull out the
dare ya.
driver. But then they would be riddled with sand and bunkers. And sometimes we were celebrating. We thought we hit, it was, first time playing a golf course, you don't always see or know everything. We try to a little bit, like look at the map and stuff like that. Whereas a couple times we were celebrating tee shots.
Yeah.
That's going to be money. And we get down there, it's in a trap.
Right. And how about all the water that will be there in the summer that wasn't there? I think our scores would have been a lot worse because we ended up in some old water hazards that are just high grass now.
Yeah.
And we're able to get the ball and hit out.
Which we get a little bit of that here where we play like some of these courses in the spring and fall, and the fescue, which is usually a big defense, is cut down. It was kind of similar in that way. But so we work our way through the South Course. Like I said, we played well. It was a close match. It was fun. There was our taste of challenge. It was a little bit of foreshadowing in some places. But we were also, as Zach was saying, we were feeling good. We were flowing.
Good.
Then, we had
the
about
North
an
Course.
hour break before we took on the North Course, and it started you off with another one of those incredibly tight tee shots. Remember that thing?
Yeah, it was like the Pinehurst number 3 treatment.
Yes.
It's like after playing number 4 in the morning, all juiced up, have a great round, and then we're like, oh yeah, we got this course now.
Yes.
Do we know anything about this course? Not really, but let's give it the old.
Let's give it a try. The old college try.
Yeah.
I think the tough part with the North course was, unlike the South, there was not a let up. It was tight from the first shot to the last. You had to hit your shots. There's some courses you can play where a slight misstep, a mistake won't hurt you that bad. You can recover.
Right.
This, it's like, if you make a mistake, you're punished. None that I felt like did that as much as TPC Tampa Bay, which we'll talk about. TPC Tampa Bay,
Still
you didn't make your shot, forget it.
Yeah.
Forget it.
Forget it.
But here it was like that. You know, you would, if you didn't make your shot, there wasn't a lot of OB.
No, I'm just thinking for North course.
The North.
I'm thinking about the exact hole where that fox squirrel hunted us down and wanted to kill Zach.
Wanted to kill us.
Yeah.
Literally just flexing. He stood up there like this.
Yeah.
I'm like, yo, this is like a kangaroo meets a squirrel. We got to get out of here.
And for all you like us who are naive and not from that area and don't know it, Google fox squirrel and you'll see.
Google large fox squirrel. Don't look at the small ones. We had the large one with the paws. Okay, so
dude had abs, biceps.
he had everything.
Yeah.
It was amazing. But on that hole, I remember I hit driver, which I thought, or I think I hit 3-wood, which it was a dog leg right. And I was just trying to cut it around the tree, and then I ended up hitting a perfect shot dead straight. And it went through the fairway and I was blocked out. And it happened a lot on that course. It was a shot maker's course. You had to hit more irons off the tee there. And someone in the comments, I was looking up a scorecard yesterday at North or South, and someone made the comment is, this is a course where you just finish up your experience at Innisbrook before heading to the airport. And again, like you said, not a warm-up and not a closeout. These holes were tough and they were gorgeous. You had some island carries with bridges over them. I'm like, come on. Beautiful. Just because they don't have the big name, I mean, I would definitely play all 4 of these courses again, without a doubt.
One thing that I've learned in doing this is how much discipline it really does take to kind of put that driver away and play a game that we're so not used to.
That's the hard part.
Like, we had, between the cart barn and that first tee on the North, no less than 3 people who work there warn us and say, it's not really a driver course, guys. Just
we're like, okay.
And we're like, because like there's something about it. There's something like in us, like it's like,
thanks,
our
Pops.
demons that we can't get out,
right.
that we're just like, I just want a driver here, and we just do it. But the reality is, like, you have to be so disciplined over 18 holes to play these very positional shots. Just, you know what I mean? And the second you'd get away from it and be like, it looks open enough, I can hit my driver here.
Yeah.
You'd be like, even when you thought you had a good drive, you went through and into the trees, and it's designed that way.
Well,
it's
good old
designed to
Packard, that guy, he got me. And that blow-up hole, I'm thinking on the North course where there was water running through a little ravine.
Yeah.
And it was just the mentalness of that being there. It wasn't even reachable. It was a driver hole, but I knew it was there. And part of me was like, if I hit this ball too long, which I definitely can't reach, it's going to roll into that water. And what I do, I skied it. I just mentally came out of it, and the whole hole was a blow.
There is something that, and I think I would love at some point on the podcast, we'll get like a mental game coach on or something, because there's something about that it's another challenge of this game that I feel like even when you do make the right decision, we did in a lot of those places be like, we got to take the driver out because it'll bring that water in play.
I think you think too much.
And you think too much because you say like, all right, so I'll just hit a nice, comfortable hybrid here.
Yeah.
And you mess up a shot you never should have otherwise messed up.
Right.
You should just hit it. But there's something in your mind. It's like there's some sort of weird, deep discomfort that you're not hitting a club you're used to hitting off the tee or whatever it may be, that you do something you shouldn't do.
Yeah. Definitely.
And we would get in this shot. So that's difficult. And then adding to that would be, there would have these wind, and you get this a lot in Florida, right? Where the wind will just kind of be up and then it'll go down. And so it was constant decision making of like, add a club, take away a club. And it was just, you know what I mean?
Right. They made you think. They put it that way. They made you think. And one of the quick funny stories that came out of it, I think we were sitting down for lunch or something.
I think this is the same story that I was about to
with
say.
The kid who's a fan of the channel. Oh, it was great. So he comes over as we're finishing up, and he's like, hey, love you guys, love the channel. And then the next day we see him at lunch, and he just finished up a tournament, and the poor kid, he was so defeated. He didn't play well. And then we were asking him some advice about a course we were about to play, and he goes, oh, you're going to love it. They got this drivable par 4. He goes, Mike, you could probably reach it. Yeah. And then he goes on with the story, and we're just like, wow, blatant. And I'm like, well, good news for this guy is when he sees these videos, he's going to take all that back. So, because let's just say Frank played pretty well. spot.
Kind of adding on.
My
to
drive game came back at TPC Tampa Bay, which I'll get to.
It did.
That's
and
when I got
we
it
played
back.
that. Which I'm glad because we were so tired. We ended up saying like, let's do a best ball here, and we had a reason for it, which we'll tell you in a second. But I was glad because you carried us there. I had nothing left in the tank. I was done at that point. But yeah, and I felt bad for that kid too because like there was a big junior tournament, and I remember my junior days when playing in tournaments like that, where I would same thing. My week would be ruined by playing bad, and I just told him like I just realize now perspective how young you are,
right,
and how much more golf you're going to get to play. And I'd be like, learn whatever lessons you learn from it. What you got to work on practice, but shake this off as quick as you can.
It wasn't life for you, right? Was it life? Was golf life? No, it wasn't. I think for these kids,
a lot of these kids, it is. And for me, it was just like summers I would play in tournaments. And just my competitive nature, I'd want to play well.
Of course.
But, I didn't realize like how much like more golf is ahead of you. Like just, I would be so mentally destroyed by a bad round. And I sensed that from him and some of the other kids who were coming in signing their scorecards. And I just wanted to be like, guys, like whatever it was that was not working for you today, and some days it's just not working. We've all played bad golf, you know what I mean? But if it was like, if you can learn from it, if you can become a better golfer out of it, great. But if not, beyond that, just shake it off.
That's it, man.
You're still out there playing golf.
That's it. We said that a lot.
We did.
We did say that a lot. Hey, at least we're playing golf this week.
I knew you guys were in for quite a round going on to the North Course after we came off the South Course, and I saw how these kids were coming, how these kids who probably golf a heck of a lot more than us, how these kids were coming off looking on the North Course.
Yeah.
They were just like, just brutalized. They were just
two great tests.
Some of them were just bumming.
But that's what I love about golf is that it can beat you up, but it just makes you want to come back. Like, you know what? I want nothing more is than a second shot at those courses.
Definitely.
And I want to do it. I want to do it the right way and play them smarter than we played and play a little bit more rest. So speaking of which, understanding that we hadn't played golf in a while, we're not exactly in our peak physical shape right now, being winter. Okay, it is what it is. We take on 36 holes on the first day, and we were sore the next day.
Yeah, we were sore.
I jokingly said to Zach, I said, I feel like I was in like a medium severity car accident.
Yeah.
That's what my body felt like. And of course, we did that then going into the next day of playing the island course. Now, if you hadn't heard of this, like kind of like we hadn't had a lot of knowledge about it, we were all so focused on Copperhead. When you ask, and you don't even need to ask because everyone down there is ready, willing, and able to offer you this, and they all tell you, be like, you guys know that the island is harder.
Yeah, I think that was part of the problem. I think we knew too much going into it that it was going to beat us up.
And it lived up to that name. But everyone was saying it. They were saying, listen, this is the harder course. It's harder than the PGA Tour course, the Copperhead. They said that the PGA Tour, and there's been a lot of other big events hosted there. But they said the PGA Tour just decided to go with the Copperhead because there's more room for fans and things like that. But the island is the tougher course.
Yeah,
It sure was.
Phil, speaking of Phil, earlier in the show, Phil actually won his NCAA title on the island course.
That's right.
Right. And it's just absolutely incredible how difficult this course was. Water everywhere. Same type of elements where you had to play certain shots. There was one hole that had the green was incredibly protected by a greenside bunker, and right in the middle of that bunker was a tree. And I'm just thinking, like, here's an instance, right? So here's an instance where, like, the golf courses we're used to playing, you're hitting at a par. Now these are all long par threes too, so like 170, 180 yard par three. Figure your normal golf course, you hit it at that, you miss the green a little bit left, and you're in a greenside bunker, and you're like, all right. There goes any type of birdie, but maybe I can up and down this and get out of here with a par on a difficult hole. Here, it was all a game of inches. You only had to miss by a little bit, and you would literally be in a bunker, but literally right behind a tree.
It's insane.
And your only option would have been to come out sideways.
Yep.
Hopefully get out of the bunker because the bunker was huge, and then play another shot. So what I'm saying is one missed shot on any of these holes, and you weren't playing for saving par or even saving bogey. A lot of times you were playing to save your double.
Oh, absolutely. Save a double. Wait till you see that one from the air, by the way.
I was laughing so hard. That's what I was about to say. Yeah. I was on the drone. I was usually a hole or two ahead of you guys. And when I saw a fully grown tree that had to have been 30 to 50 years old, just massive tree.
Big old tree.
Growing out of the middle of a bunker. I just started laughing.
And how cool was that green?
Hard.
Where, like, wrapped around. So if you are behind it, you could go left onto the green or right onto the green, but you'll have a long putt if that flag's in the middle.
Or you would have to literally have to do two putts, like one putt one side of the green just so you could see the hole, and then putt the other way.
Yeah, that course was the devil.
As if the course wasn't hard enough.
Right, and then that's where they had that one hole that was literally like a hallway. It was like staring down a hallway of trees. So it was tough, but like I said, I say this with a huge side of respect towards it and embracing and enjoying the challenge. It's not like I'm saying this course is too tough, don't play it.
Right.
I'm just saying, like, you want a challenge? You got your challenge.
You definitely have it. And I think if we play it again, we will play much better at it. I mean, terrain-wise, I mean, a lot of elevation for Florida. I think the tee box on 11, the highest elevation in the county.
Yeah.
And we stood up there, we're like, wow, are we back in New York again?
Right.
Like, there was huge elevation. But, I mean, that turf is still tough. I don't want to make excuses, but you'll see in the videos, the turf doesn't dig like it does up here.
Yeah.
For me, at least. I'm a steep swing. So I left a lot of shots short. I mean, I left a lot of strokes out there chunking balls.
Yeah.
You'll see a chunk fest at
It was
TPC
a lot
Tampa
more
Bay.
like Pinehurst in that way.
Yeah.
Firm, fast fairways, which, by the way, was another way that you could get in trouble because you could hit a fairway and it would just roll further than you think, and it would roll off, and when it off the fairway, it was in the trees.
Yeah.
And then you were punching from the pine straw. One thing, though, that I absolutely loved were the greens.
Love the greens.
I love the greens on all four courses. They were soft. They were they were true. They rolled true. I feel like I putt some of my best that I've putt, in a while.
Some great putts this trip.
It was some,
We did.
Yep, some great. We made a lot. And if we
Lot of
weren't
birdies,
making
too.
those putts, the scores would be even worse because it was sometimes greens and regulations were way low there. It was hard to get because there were so many holes where you would end up with a tee shot that wasn't good enough, and you were either blocked out or I'm even thinking like moving on to like Copperhead, that 607-yard par 5 up the hill we played. That there's a tree on the left side of the fairway that makes the green inaccessible on an approach if you're on the left side of the fairway. So we always think like, hey, some of the courses we play, you're not super punished if you're in the fairways. As long as you're in the fairway, you've got an access to a green. Here, not so much. And this is what we said earlier about the PGA Tour and having to be able to think. These guys got to know where they got to hit this. You can't, hitting a fairway is not good enough.
It's not.
You have to be on the right side of that fairway.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. We saw that on the 18th hole at Island.
Yeah.
Remember, we had to hit like a 7-iron just to get it down there. And if you were on the left at all, forget it. I hit a tree.
Right.
Because it was there. And then it dropped me back down.
Oh, and you had to go over water.
And you had to go over water. It was 332 as the crow flies from the tee box over water. But no one's going that route.
Yeah.
The drone did.
Just a drone.
Well, so my best advice would be, play the right tee boxes. There are 5 sets of tee boxes there. Yeah. We just mess around a little bit to give you guys some perspective. Like we played that one hole from the tour tees
we wanted to feel
just
it.
to experience it. 607 yards. Should never be playing from that yardage there. But we kind of bounced around other places. But play the right tee boxes. You're going to have a good time. And if you're gonna enjoy it if you play any of these courses. So I would say if you're down there to play the Copperhead or the Island, don't sleep on North and South. They are really fun courses to play while you're there. They're just challenging, and it's a very similar challenge. But the one thing we got to talk about before we move on is Copperhead itself.
I want to talk about Copperhead because I do want to ask you, I want to go to a dark place.
Oh, fun.
The 15th hole.
You remember holes better than I do.
Was
You
it the
gotta give me a
15th or
little
the
more.
13th? I think it was the 13th.
Let's just say we won't label it as a hole. We'll just say when
13th
Frank's
hole. I
wheels
know
started
exactly.
to come
it's
off.
the TPC Sawgrass, kind of with Valspar in the background.
Correct.
That was
Oh,
13th.
yeah. So I had a full-on mental breakdown.
He had a mental breakdown, and we've seen this, but I forget about that. I want to put that beside us. I'm more curious, and I'm sure a lot of our audience will want to know, is you came back and played well to close it out. After I said, wow, Frank's wheels are entirely off.
Right.
But they fully came back on, fully polished and everything, especially through the snake pit. So, like, what happened?
So what happened was, and this is something that, like I said, it was building as we were going. My body was in rough shape, and then it gives you, we talk about our goals every year. One goal that I got to do is I got to be in better golf shape. And I'm already committed to it because what I did was at home, I already hit a lot of foam balls in my basement because like what I could do, but I set up a net finally, and I'm just making a commitment to hitting about 25 to 50 shots every single day because after that first day of 36, I was so sore and it was affecting me in weird ways of just like the golf swing in general is so demanding on time and everything being just right. Like even little sorenesses in my legs and everything like that would cause me just like to not be able to turn. And I started to like hitting shots I never hit. But I said this and I joked. I said this to Zach earlier. I go, this always happens to me, man, where my body is like done. And then eventually it just like even gives up on being done.
Yep.
And it stops just being sore and gives me a little bit of a reprieve. I luckily got that going to the snake pit. I think I had such built up in my head that I just wanted to play the snake pit well,
Yep.
that I just took anything I had left and just put it all towards those last couple holes.
+1, right?
Played +1 on the snake pit,
Amazing.
which at least I can have that. But there were some holes before that when I literally was like, Mike, I just can't hit a ball, man. Everything hurt. My hands hurt. I still have I have this blood blister here on my, what do you call it?
There it is.
From
Andy
playing
Bernard
that
over
much
here.
golf.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Andy got some blisties on my face. So I'm like, definitely pushing it too far, both mentally and physically. Because also when we do this, don't forget, guys, we're not just playing golf. We're a film crew.
It's a hustle.
Okay, so we're out there, and having Zach's help, is a game changer. We used to do this ourselves, but we're still, every step we're taking, take 10 extra to run and set up a tripod and this and that. And
Just as somebody from like the outside, you two do so much work while you're on the course that has nothing to do with golf. That
Right.
the fact that you're able to, like, on a dime, just turn it on after maybe sometimes 10 minutes of not talking about golf, only talking about camera stuff, flying a drone, doing whatever, and then just being like, oh, okay, action. And I got to go hit this drive down the narrowest fairway I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, I'm not thinking about trees blocking me out on approach. Not all the time.
right, we're juggling a lot of balls out there, and then that's where that happened. I remember saying to you, I'm like, Mike, I mean, normally we're go because even in that instance, we were playing Copperhead, and then we had a very short time to get over to TPC Tampa Bay and play Tampa Bay.
And we needed to feed ourselves.
And we need to eat something.
So
and
we drive through life.
What's on our mind is not only cameras, but we're on our mind, where can we call that they can have a sandwich ready, that we can get it when we walk off of 18? And can we get a hold of the grill so it's ready, because we're going to need to eat it while we're driving to our next.
Exactly.
So we're thinking those things. And I've never done this before, but I said, I remember turning to you like, Mike, I need 5. I got to take a beat.
Yeah.
And that's where like I literally had that mental breakdown on whatever it was, 14.
Yeah, we had a closed course, so we were able to do it.
I was
we were just
like,
take a break.
I got to walk away. I got to stretch, and I got to just take a breather, because I got in a point where I was just like, I was done.
That's it. Yeah.
I was done.
But you found it again.
Found it again for those 3 holes. But then, like I said, the next thing we do is go over to TPC Tampa Bay, which, by the way, again, talk about like staff and people. Incredible.
Amazing.
They were awesome. We walk in there. They're like, oh, you guys are here. That's great. They had hats for us.
Donnie and Steve, great guys.
Super awesome, chill dudes. And a huge thanks to Rob Labritz, who, he won his PGA Champions Q School event there, which put him on the tour. It's a special place. It's a special place for him, and they've even got a dish named after him.
They have a salad for Rob now on the menu called the Labritz Wedge. Here's the photo of it. Look at that thing. I want one of those right now.
Right? The Labritz
and
wedge.
Rob's like me. He's not a blue cheese guy. You're not a blue cheese guy, right?
I am. I
oh,
love
you
blue
are.
cheese.
Yeah, no.
It's
He's
Zach who's not either.
Yeah,
Not a big blue
Labritz goes
cheese.
ranch.
Yeah.
And those guys, they're awesome. They tried to get us when we were in such a hustle, but they took us throughout, and they showed us some tokens from back in the day with Steve and Rob from their playing days. They're good buddies. But Rob is an absolute stick for going 7 under, bogey free.
Incredible.
That course ate our lunch.
That
baby.
course was so hard.
We were best ball scramble.
I still remember. Do you remember the pin position on the first hole? Talk about a rude awakening.
Oh my God, yeah. I wanted to go home.
We're trying to get you had this pin position in the back left, and this is very similar to that Pinehurst feel, where you have a lot of greens that kind of fall off, and then they're very fast on the apron, so the ball can just roll off the green. Mm-hmm. And we're playing. Don't forget, we're playing best ball. I'll tell you why in a second. But you had this pin all the way back left. It's on the lower of 2 tiers. We're on the front. We're just trying to hit it. We're chipping up. It would catch that hill and roll off the back of the green, and we're coming back up. So like we're like, how did Rob do what he did here? So the reason was we just wanted to mix it up a little bit we did 4 straight matches in 3 days. So we were like, let's mix it up a little bit and do a best ball. But we also wanted to give perspective to what Rob did there. In tournament conditions, he shot from the tips. He shot 7 under on the final day, 7 under. So we said, how well can 2 average Joe hacks do in a best ball scenario, not tournament conditions? Can we come anywhere near his score? Now, I understand that sounds like a lot of I don't want to take anything away from Rob. It's not a bravado thing. Like, can we match his score?
Right.
It was more for perspective because we've always kind of joked. My brother said this to me years ago, and I always loved the idea. He said in PGA Tour events there should always be your average Joe Schmo somewhere in the field to give perspective.
Yeah.
To what the
Let's
field
check
is
in
really
on
doing.
Like the Olympics.
Plus
Right.
41.
Let's check in on Frank. Yeah, exactly. He's
Coming
41
down
over
12.
in the third round here. That's what they should do. So I said, this, if anything, will give perspective to that. So we're playing best ball. You carried us. Like I said, at that point, you could have physically
got us off
carried
the
me.
tee. That
You
was
could have
about it.
physically carried me. I was done.
Yeah.
There's nothing to attack.
And it was like Zach was getting Tobacco Road vibes. I mean, it was hot. It was the end of the day. We had that golden hour sunset. 18, that drone flyover in 18. They loved it. They were digging the footage. But guys, TPC Tampa Bay, I think, no matter how hard it was, I think you have to put that course on your list if you go to Tampa.
Yeah.
Because of not only how the course is beautiful, the clubhouse is completely renovated. The menu, as you saw, like they're like a classy establishment there. And I don't even think the greens fees are that much. I think someone said it had like a one handle on it.
Yeah.
And for a TPC course with that type of caliber, lots of water, lots of challenge. I played again in a
Plenty
second.
of challenge.
Yep.
And there were spots where you could get aggressive. And we did in some spots because we were playing a best ball. I remember that one where you drove that ball over the trees. I don't remember what hole it was. Almost reached the green.
5.
Was it 5?
4. It was 4 or 5.
Oh, it was the one where I went over the Tiger line. It was by the drain.
right before the short
Made birdie on that
3.
hole. I think I went tee to green, birdie for the team there.
But I made a huge tactical error by suggesting that we played the green tees.
Yeah, that was on you.
That's on me because the green tees are, it says right on the scorecard, it says for 4 to 8 handicap.
Frank overlooked that feature.
I didn't see that.
But I love your thought process. We're playing a best
Here's my
ball. Let's push it
thought,
back.
And my thought always is whatever the back tees are, we play one in front of
Right.
it. I'm in that mode. So you had the blacks.
They're usually blue or green. It usually goes white, a blue or a green, and then a black.
Right.
So we're usually in that in between.
So, I'm like, I said, Mike, we're playing a best ball scramble. People will probably think it's a cop out if we don't play these.
Little did we know.
Little did we know. I don't think we saw par 3 under $175, and most we were firing at 195.
Yeah.
And so that was tough. In hindsight, we should have played one further up, which would have been the blues.
Yeah, we should have. But you know what? I think about that round now. I go back and I actually am thinking about so many good things over what actually happened. I had a lot of great compressed 6-irons from the fairway that I hit. I had a lot of great putts. I had some birdies, a lot of booming drives. For me, I felt like everything was working, but what wasn't working was that mid game. And the funny story was we didn't even meet Steve, the head of golf there. He actually drove out with Donnie later to meet us. And talk about poor timing.
I gotta laugh at this one.
I absolutely tattoo my drive down the middle of the fairway, fly the green, the fairway bunker, which I bet a lot of guys end up in.
Middle of the fairway.
Yeah, middle of the fairway. Stand up to this approach shot. All of a sudden, I like a corner of my eye, see a cart coming with 2 guys, and I know it's Donnie, and the other guy with him, I go, must be Steve. I should have stepped away from it, but I went for it. I hit it. I chunked it. Hit the ball like 10 yards ahead of me. Dropped the club, and all of a sudden, Steve goes, first thing he says to me, just meeting him there, he goes, hey, you need golf lessons.
Yeah.
No, I think it was a question. I think he said, hey, you need some you need a lesson?
And then what does Frank do? Gets up, does the same thing.
No, I didn't chunk it though. Thank God.
You didn't.
No, I caught it a little bit fat. And remember, we were about 20 yards shy.
That's
of the
right.
green.
That's right. Not as it wasn't as bad as mine. Mine
No,
went like
but
10 yards.
I said in that moment, I said that's the most relatable shot in golf.
100%.
It gave me such a nightmare, flashback to when I had the longest drive at Crystal Springs and immediately chunked my wedge. Mm-hmm. It's always after your best drive of the day.
Always.
It's always after your best drive of the day. So and I messed it up too because he immediately I stepped into the ball and now they're saying show me something. I'm like, here's the pressure.
That's what you don't want. Show me something.
So I tried not to chunk it and I catch it a little bit fat and it just came up 20 yards short of the green.
He was great. He goes, all right, we'll catch you guys over on 18. At the time we were at 16. And then I had to make the point to go into that pro shop. I go, I don't want this guy to think like we're just really scrubbing it up out there. So I had to make a point to tell him that I birdied. And he was like, wow, nobody ever birdied 17. That long par
17,
3.
yeah, that was incredible.
Yeah, it was great.
Well, like, where are the guys watching on 18? 450-yard par 4 around the water.
You took us all the way on that hole.
I go driver,
either hybrid
to eagle putt.
Yeah.
Missed the eagle putt.
No, birdie. It was a par 4. It was a long par 4.
That's right.
Long
felt
par 4.
like a par 5.
But still.
I'm like, nobody's watching.
We were
now.
pin high, but yeah.
Where's everybody now?
Yeah, of course.
Those
always works out that way.
So we had our best ball tournament. It was probably a leave of about a 35-foot putt. We just missed it, and we tapped our par in and got out of there.
You know, one of my favorite things about being so, tired and in a 36, it was the end of a trip, is we do get delirious, and it's the comedy is just so funny.
Yeah.
Because, we're questioning why we're still out here sometimes. And you'll see it in the videos if you watch our YouTube channel, and you're going to love to see, although we were getting beat up, we were having so much fun.
Because you got it.
You got it. We were absolutely. So the question comes up. Did we take on too much? Do we take on too much for this trip? I would love to hear what you guys think. I know maybe a lot of you listening, you're not in the field. You don't have a media company. You're not out there filming your golf. But we feel like we do too much on these trips.
Yeah, we do. And I think that's where I get disappointed, because when you get Copperhead, here's the PGA Tour course. Really, I'm not gonna live and die by playing well. I'm not gonna be the guy who's gonna literally just my month is ruined by not playing well.
Yeah, no, not at all.
But I do have a desire to play well. I want to on those courses be able to feel like I brought my game to it. And I think where the disappointment was by then it was our fourth round in 36 hours.
Yeah.
And just didn't have it. I was just tired. I'm like, I can't do this.
And when you got home and people asked you, how was Innisbrook? What was your response?
It was incredible, but we took on too much.
Yeah, exactly. I never said, I played horrible. I'm throwing my clubs away. I'm throwing them in the garden. No, I was like, it was gorgeous. It was amazing. We had a blast.
You got it. Like I said, that's the perspective I didn't have as a kid. And I always try to, when I see a kid struggling with it, I try to share it with them, because I don't want them to live in that same position I did, where it was just like, I put so much at stake. I get so frustrated.
Yeah.
Instead, now I've got a new perspective where I'm just like, dude, I'm in the sunshine playing golf.
Right. We're on a buddy's golf trip, but it's for work.
Right.
And we've had a lot of great crack up moments. I'm still laughing about the Joe Marchese. We're not going to go down that line, but I just wanted to get Zach to live over there.
Zach going. Well, I come back and I tell my father, and he's like, he's got sympathy for me, but he's got no sympathy for him, because he does
the same, right?
He's right now in Arizona.
Yeah.
He flew out to Arizona. He's on a buddy's guy, trip. He's playing. I think it's 6 or 7 rounds in 5 days. He's got a couple of days where he's playing 36.
No cams.
I was going to say, and he's probably on 59 watch for all of his rounds.
Yeah. Well, he's got the pressure too, because he's the oldest in the group, but he's also the lowest handicap. Right now he's playing on 6, which is just incredible. But I mean, look at a lot of pressure, because then they do team play, and then they want him on the team, and he's got the pressure to perform.
Yeah. And they play for like $3.
Yeah.
I love those matches.
Yeah.
It's great. Your dad is a ringer out there.
He is. I got to see. I think today's the day he's playing TPC Scottsdale, so I want to hear how it went.
That's going to be cool. Some desert
Can we get him to vlog it?
Yeah.
Imagine those guys vlogging. Come on, please.
It's like that. You ever see that guy who they gave him a GoPro, the dad, and he was recording. He was recording his trip to Las Vegas, and the whole time he had in the other direction, it was just his face. He's just saying, "Okay, and here's Caesars," and it's just his face all the time. Classic.
Look at this paw.
We need to do that.
Classic.
I think that would be a hilarious piece of content. Give your dad a GoPro and
see what happens.
Just edit.
We're just gonna edit whatever you come back with.
I'm happy he just sends me some pictures.
Yeah, you're lucky he gets
some pictures. I get to see the pictures, and I'm like, hey, that's great.
We were laughing. We're talking about these tour guys who go week in, week out on tour playing, and they're not playing 36. I mean, they're playing like 7. They're 4 rounds plus practice rounds,
and they're walking.
And they're
4
walking.
rounds of competition.
This is strips like this that show you just how physical of a game golf really is, and that's why we had Rob, speaking of which, on the show. And you remember what he talked about how much work goes into his physical training of his between the Peloton and
just
the
as
walking.
important as the golf stuff,
right? Because to be able to keep up in that shape to be able to play, because like I said, there were muscles on me that hurt that I was not. I think it'll be a different story when we're more in golf shape and we're playing a couple rounds a week. But to go from playing, other than the cuts we take here in the simulator, go from effectively playing, which is no walking, effectively going from no golf to 5 rounds in 4 days, really under 4 days because of the travel time. That was a lot.
It was a lot. And you know what? I've still yet to find good solid pizza down in Florida.
We had one that was decent.
We
had a decent one the first night.
Plum tomato?
Yeah.
Plum tomato.
It wasn't bad.
Came through.
I mean, for being from a couple New York, New Jersey guys, we have very, very, very high standards for pizza.
I think it was a 5.8.
We had a lot.
Yeah, but that's like a Florida 8.4.
Easily, yeah.
I can't stop laughing though. We had a lot working against us to try to play good golf. We had stomachs full of a lot of fast food and airport food.
Yep.
No sleep for the first 2 nights because of a nightmarish Airbnb.
Airbnb, which we survived. We're
We
here.
survived
Barely.
it.
I put a chair against the door in my bedroom.
Let me tell you something. Mike had a bed. I just don't understand the physics of how this works, but Mike's bed is a queen size bed in this Airbnb. If you put any weight on the right side, the whole bed
fell
will
over.
flip over.
So I had to consciously stay on the
So
left.
he slept
all
all
night.
the way on the left side to counterbalance it
Had
the
like 3
entire
hours
time.
of sleep.
I'm talking about if you came into his room and you sat on the side of the bed, the bed would come up and hit you in the back.
Yeah.
The whole bed would flip.
Frank had every type of blood on his pillow. No, it was hair. Sorry.
Oh my God. We were at least we had the foresight to bring our own sheets.
Yeah, we did.
I brought my own pillow.
And the
Zach was on
house
the couch.
had a particular smell that just could not be killed.
I don't know how to
Formaldehyde?
it was like a formaldehyde meets cigar night meets bingo meets I don't know.
Just
We were
general
doing
Florida
anything
musk.
we could. I found a bag of popcorn and I popped it and just opened it and just let it out like an air freshener.
was our air freshener.
Just trying to get the smell out of the.
And why we stayed there is because Innisbrook was so busy that they didn't have room for us. We booked this trip last minute. So we're thankful we got the 2 nights at Innisbrook when we did.
Yeah.
But for the first 2 nights, we had to seek outside shelter.
But then
that was on us.
We stood with really no sleep
was nothing
or
anywhere
anything the
available.
first 2 nights. When we finally hit those Innisbrook rooms, we crashed. Those rooms were awesome.
Shit.
They were legit. Is right.
So
But
legit.
it felt like just have like a
course.
real bed and a real shower, and that the rooms were just gorgeous. They had the
Zach had the
balconies.
Eisenhower suite again.
Yeah, he did. The balconies that you could step out on, they overlooked the course, and you was just like, okay, now this is heaven.
This is it. Oh, it's just so nice.
Another
Unfortunately,
cool
it took a while to catch up on sleep, though.
Another cool thing that happened while we were down at Innisbrook was, I'm not sure if you guys are big car people, but I'm a big car guy, and the Lux Rally rolled through.
Yeah, you were
Innisbrook.
geeking out over that down there. That's your jam.
Yeah, the Lux Rally is just a bunch of really, really expensive cars drive kind of in a convoy from location to location over a span of like a week. And they came through Innisbrook, and I saw a bunch of
Yeah, you were geeking out. You were messaging
car
me.
people that
It was
I
like a kid in
know
a
on
candy store.
YouTube. I was just like totally freaking out. And these cars were amazing. Ferraris, Lamborghinis, Bentleys, just really
There were
cool.
some cool, there was some cool cars going through. So let's sum it up real quick. Like I said, give you guys a little bit of a tip if anybody's going to play Innisbrook. One is that don't sleep on the north and south course. They're worth playing. It's not just something to just say like, hey, I'm going to skip them. If you can play them, play them.
Yep.
The rooms are great. I love the ones that, especially if you get a balcony that looks out over the course. That's awesome.
You want to pump the Cali burger one more time? You did it enough while we were there.
The Cali burger at the Salamander Grill is delicious.
There you go.
It's
Another
a turkey
tip.
burger. But here's a good tip for you. The Salamander Grill, especially the outdoor seating, is awesome. It's so great to sit out there.
The fire pits.
Everyone wants to be out there, so we
Make
learned
a
this the
res.
first day. Make a reservation there.
Make
Check-
it early.
Make it early.
Go to Packard's, get a
Go-
steak.
At least
treat
once
yourself.
go to Packard's.
New York City prices, but worth it because the taste lived up to it.
Get the
was-
Tomahawk.
Yep, it was
Someone get the
delicious.
tomahawk for us.
But like I said, play the courses, but put your pride aside and play. It's a shot maker's course. Hit fairways.
That's all.
Whatever it takes, hit fairways because you'll be punished if you don't.
Yeah, you will.
But it's worth the experience. It's if you're looking for a place to do a trip, Innisbrook should be on your list because 4 great courses and a really just a terrific resort there.
big time.
I'm not sure if some of the listeners, I'm sure, had to have seen Mike's reel on 13 at the Copperhead course where he actually used the Texas wedge to get out of the bunker.
Worked out well.
And he got it onto the green. I just wanted to see, did either of you guys see Lee Hodges
He saw me
this
do it.
weekend
He
at the
messaged me
Honda?
and
Yeah, he had to have seen Mike do it
I like
because
that
it
putter,
happened
too.
almost 24 hours after Mike put the reel out. This
Yeah,
guy
that's it.
putting out of the bunker.
Let's hope
but
Lee Hodges isn't taking
Didn't
any
work
golf
for
advice
him
from
though.
me.
Yeah,
Didn't work for him.
It did not work
Oh,
for him.
and
He put it in the drink.
Yeah, across the green
And
into the
speaking of that, Scotty Cameron for Frank on this trip.
Yeah.
New piece of equipment in his bag. So
Lights out.
you'll have to watch the videos to see how well it performed for him.
You'll have to see, but it did feel good. So that was all a bunch of fun stuff. It was all the videos will be rolling out really soon, so be sure to check that out. And we'll leave you guys with a quick banqueter, Shank.
We'll do a quick one here.
Want to do a quick one, just a couple?
Yeah. Just recapping, going back. Did we see Phil at the Masters?
I bank it. I think Phil's going to play in the Masters. Like I said, I think it's the event for him to play at. I think you'll have Phil will step out of the spotlight. We know how quick the news cycle moves nowadays. Yeah. I think Phil will step out. He'll come back in a few weeks with some sort of well-stated, hopefully, this is my hope, apology. And I think the best place for him to do is the Masters because you won't see a lot of booing or heckling there.
Yeah, I'm going to shank it. I think there's too much. I think it's only like 40 days away. Like we talked about the Champions Dinner and all that. So I think I'm going to shank it. I don't know if we see him yet.
Okay. How about this? Bank it or shank it. Phil gets back with the sponsors.
I think eventually I'll bank it. Maybe not all of them, but I think he'll get back with some and maybe get some new ones out of this with people who are on Phil's side.
Yeah, and Phil is in a good position to not need the money. I think it's kind of half bank, half shank. I think you'll see some of them come
half
back.
Bank, half shank.
The half and half. The old half and half.
Callaway's definitely coming back.
What's he going to play with? XXIO clubs? I mean,
Well, they got to come back, I think, because he signed a lifetime deal with them. Like, he could say whatever he wants. Like, I mean, once he gets in the good graces
lifetime deals
of
can
people,
get canceled too.
Yeah,
I know,
every
but-
deal ever signed nowadays has an exit clause that if you say the wrong thing, they can leave.
But the wording that Callaway used was that they were pausing.
Right. I think the ones that pause, you'll see more. But also, don't forget, there's certain ones that Phil is part ownership, like Mizzen and Maine.
Yeah.
I think things like that. He doesn't need the money. He can just roll with that.
Right.
He can do like what Koepka had done and be like
I still
kind of
think he
brand agnostic and play whatever he wants to play. Who knows?
I still think you should do a YouTube channel and shoot videos like us, like the back nine with Rory McIlroy. Well, not with Rory anymore, but the back nine, best ball, worst ball. I would watch that all day.
We could do a collab.
Remember, seeing how low I can go from the red tees, Phil Mickelson vlog? Come on. I'm already subscribed.
Yeah. Shoot 55.
Yeah, I'm already subscribed.
Yeah.
All right, one more. Let's do one
last
more.
one. Go ahead.
Island course at Innisbrook. Bank it or shake it.
You want a challenge, you bank it.
If you want to challenge, you bank it. You got to experience it. So I'm going to say bank it
It
because
is a humbling course that will.
and we need those in life.
Yes, and it'll teach you some things about your game. It'll also teach you some things about your personality, and it will ultimately give you a new look on the courses that you play that are not quite so hard.
And let's just say it's a place that I'll never ever again ask the starter what the course record is, like I did.
I know it's funny. Mike does it as a joke, but it's funny how this game will quickly humble you out. You go in there asking what the course record is, and you shoot your personal record high.
Yeah, hi. I asked TPC starter, and he punched me in the rib.
He did. He laughed at you and punched you in the rib. And what's the course record? He goes, ha. He hit him.
Yeah,
He said,
Who's on the front?
yeah, he gave you the old, yeah, you're going to shoot that on the front nine. You hadn't even teed up a ball yet. He knew.
He knew.
He said the course record is 61. Punches in the rib. He goes, you'll probably shoot that on the front nine. All right, get out there, boys.
He was the
Your
best
tee
starter
box.
ever. Yeah.
The guy was a gem.
The guy at the island didn't even respond to Mike.
No,
he
he
just
just stared at me.
laughed at him and walked away.
Yeah,
Right.
that was it.
They're like, who are these guys? Let's check in on the guys who asked about the course record. They're 44 over on the.
Yeah.
Anyway,
did.
hopefully you guys enjoy the videos because we did have fun. Those are going to be rolling out on the main channel in the next couple of weeks. Like I said earlier, like we topped off this show with, give us your take on Phil. What do you think? We're going to see Phil again. What do you think of what he said? Does the punishment fit the crime? Will you still be rooting for him? We'd love to hear what you guys have, and we'll give updates as more news kind of rolls out. That's everything we have for you guys this week. You can get to the show notes by going to golficity.com/episode 417, and we'll see you again next week.